Well, welcome back. Our episode today is going to be very interesting. We are, of course, looking at intercultural competence through virtual exchange as a tool in achieving the SDGs. Today, we're going to focus on role-playing simulations and how we can prepare our learners that are multidisciplinary in decision making through providing them the experiences in our virtual exchange on sustainability games. So I have a panel here of several professors and a alumnus who actually for quite a while have worked in these games, playing with a variety of different countries. So please, let's begin by introducing yourselves. Dr. Eduardo Very Liberato, could you please go first?
Yes, right. Hello, everybody. This is Eduardo from São Paulo State University in Brazil. I am with the Department of Control and Automation Engineering, and I also have been teaching at some another engineering majors such as environmental engineering and energy engineering. Thank you.
Dr. Karima Khalil, could you go next?
Yes, thank you, Kelly. My name is Karima Khalil. I'm professor at Qadi Iyad University in Morocco in School of Technology in Essaouira. I'm professor of environmental sciences. Thank you.
And our alumnus.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katie. I am currently an alumni from DePaul University, Jarvis of Computing and Digital Media, CDM.
All right. Well, just to give us a little context to get started, we're going to talk about a couple topics, such as the impact of these simulations in preparing our learners for the SDGs, as well as the accessibility of using virtual exchange in games. So from fall 2020 to fall 2023, we had 322 students, that is 34 teams, that played simulation games on sustainability for about 60 minutes. Sometimes they were a little shorter, sometimes a little longer. We had 4 different continents playing these games, and sometimes all together. So we had both North and South America, we had North Africa, and Europe. Now, we didn't just walk into these games and start the games. There were scripts that were provided to the students for each of the roles in playing the games. And the goal of the game was to get a majority vote. It didn't have to be complete consensus, but at least a majority vote for whatever sustainability project that the game was tailored to, that the team would actually, in a majority, be able to vote for. Different roles included the regulators, the state government, sometimes elected officials, technical people, engineers, also the public. So a variety of stakeholders, whether they would be, for instance, a union or indigenous communities, environmental groups, they were all represented in a variety of games. These games included things like hazardous waste facility siting, nuclear waste facility siting, offshore wind farms. We had some flood erosion and climate change, the use of electric dams, so hydroelectric dams. So these games were pretty broad brush in the topics. But before the students came together in the game, they had 2 meetings, and scaffolding support those meetings. They had these intercultural training sessions where they answered self-assessments and had to reflect on it, and then 2 previous meetings with the students from the other countries in small groups. So now I would like to turn to the professors that were involved with these games. Dr. Eduardo, what can you say about what you observed in these games? How did they affect your students?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot to say about this. We have been playing this for like 5 years now, and with a sort of different engineering majors and both undergraduate and graduate students. And from my point of view of engineering, I mean, from engineering point of view, this is a great experience because, engineering are hard science, deals with hard science during the variety of courses, graduation courses, and this is a good opportunity to see a situation that sometimes they just see on a mathematical point of view, and to see this situation in a more realistic way, dealing with different stakeholders other than engineering, or with some knowledge they don't get acquainted about in the courses they apply for during their graduation. So it's a very good opportunity, especially in terms of language, because we adopted English as lingua franca and during the virtual exchange interactions, but for us Brazilians, this is mainly a second language, and it's especially in the engineering. For engineers, could be a barrier in terms of interaction, and these games is also a good opportunity for them to face this challenge of discussing these topics in a second language, in a different language other than Portuguese. So, it's a very enriching experience for our students, I think.
And Karima, Dr. Karima, this was even more so for your students because they have, what, 3 languages, right?
Yeah, of course. In Morocco, here they are English is the third foreign language after Arabic and French. So this is a good opportunity, this virtual exchange, this global learning experience for our students and also for professors to improve their language, their third language. And when we do this experience, global learning experience with these games, I think there is many benefits. We can talk about multidisciplinary. We we integrate multidisciplinary students across the different area. They are learning together, and we allow them to work with different level of students because we can have undergraduate students and graduate students too, and bringing students together to work interculturally from different disciplines can help them to better address the real world challenges. And the use of games can simulate role playing to promote shared understanding of the goals different stakeholders face to the global challenges. And these opportunities for students to participate in role-playing games is to have an impactful tool in virtual exchange experience. It can provide students leadership opportunities and also self-awareness about their intercultural skills. So overall, the students after this global experience, they reported feeling engaged and highly motivated for playing the games and learning about sustainability.
Those are really important points because virtual exchange can be such a powerful tool if it's scaffolded, in a supportive way for the students, and the students can prepare and reflect on what their experiences are. It's considered a high impact engagement tool for learning, particularly when you use engaging tools like these role-playing simulations. Now, we actually built a model that looked at leadership. We found that the leader of the team, actually, when they spoke less, they were more likely to come to consensus and majority vote, which really showed the level of engagement and the preparation. Each student from these different countries came very prepared. They had read their scripts. They were ready to engage and eager to engage. We also found that it did not matter whether we had 6 roles, 7 roles, eight roles. So the complexity of the game, the level of interaction should have been a little different with less roles. That was not the case. We found that that the students were actively getting to a majority vote. And the size of the game, we did find that sometimes if we had multiple students playing in the same role, we did see that could slow down the game. But we found that basically students were able to come to a consensus, a majority vote, in getting to site these SDG facilities that were needed. The other component that I really want to get to here is accessibility. And we had students from all different countries, all different languages, as well as different abilities inside of the game. So for instance, we had students that perhaps were online students that had work-life balance, that had different responsibilities where they perhaps could not come to campus, so they could go online, at least in the United States game. And so one of the students that played in this game is here, and I'd like her to speak about her experience. And it was during COVID. And so we continued in our virtual exchanges during COVID and in these games during COVID. So Katie, talk about, your experience.
Yeah, so my experience was I was on DePaul campus my sophomore year when, the face masks were still required 6 feet apart. And so I did my role, which I was the leader from inside of our community space that we had inside of Centennial Hall with the face mask on. And I took off the face mask because no one was around me, but just having to wear that while doing the game was kind of a challenge for me because I'm like, oh my gosh, what if someone sees me without my mask on? Then I have to unmute myself and then come back. And not only was that an issue, but I was also coming back right after the death of my dad, who passed away from COVID. And my sophomore year was really foggy. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't my best quarter, but I was able to push through my challenges that I faced. And Kelly gave me the opportunity to step down from being a leader just because of everything going on. And I told her that I didn't want to, and I wanted to focus more on my studies because it some way distracted me in a way from not having to think about it. And my dad would not have wanted me to quit and give up because I was never raised like that. And so I was able to push through despite everything going on. And I loved being virtual for the online game because I can do it in the comfort of my own place at my own time, not have to worry about, oh my gosh, am I going to get kicked out of the library or like a a public space, that type of thing.
And Katie, something, Eduardo, I'd like you to talk about something that very uniquely happened in Katie's game that I think impressed upon you and I tremendously even today.
Yes, yes. By that time, the game specifically was a very particular situation. That game that Katie leaded or interpreted the leader of the task force is that the task force she as a leader she lead the task force to reach a consensus, but for the project the proposal they elaborated and reach consensus about during the game should be accepted, could be accepted or not by the task force leader. And the leader, in that case, declined the proposal. So it was a very particular outcome that indeed, even though it's particular because we have never saw it, observed that outcome in our planes. But in a real situation, I believe it's totally possible. It was a good experience in that thing, in that way, because um, the students can get aware that even though everything seems to be all right, maybe at the top level, things could not be accepted anyway. So yeah, very a lot of things to think about on that outcome.
And in fact, we usually played these games, for instance, on Fridays and sometimes on Saturdays because of time zones
Yes.
and accessibility for the students. And so up until that time, none of the teams had reached unanimity in their consensus.
Yes,
So
yes.
Katie was the first one, right? Katie's team was the first one that got unanimity, and she negotiated very well with all of the different stakeholders. And then it was time for her to vote, and she voted against the project. And Katie, do you remember when Eduardo asked you, why did you vote against? Do you remember your response?
Not quite necessarily, Kelly.
I do, and I think Eduardo does, because it was really impacted us. You said because the environmental justice group had to compromise and they would
Yes.
be impacted, and you didn't want them to compromise quite so much and be impacted. And that level of reasoning and that level of leadership in the vote was astounding to me. Eduardo, you too, right? I mean,
Of course. Yes.
and so we were quite impressed with that. So this multi-decision making is really what happens. This simulation that we're doing really prepares our students to work in a multidisciplinary world with many different disciplines, but also many different cultures. So there's going to be in the future more global decision making and teaming if we are to achieve the SDGs. And so this experience not only helps perhaps with language and getting a simulation of what the real world is with different cultures and different people, it begins to prepare our learners for intercultural communication and understanding. And I think that's one of the really big takeaways from all of these games that we've done. Students talked about how they may, for instance, encounter some language difficulties, but students problem solved with each other and worked together to communicate with each other, to find ways to understand each other, and to work towards a group project and make a decision on it. In this particular sense, I think it's a highly impactful tool. And also, what cannot be neglected is that we had many students that had sight impairment, that had mobility impairment, and neurodiversity impairment, and they were in the games. The only reason I knew that was because many of them were my students, and they declare privately, but none of the other students or faculty knew that. And so it gave the ability for accessibility for students who not necessarily always get to go on study abroads or able to participate in games in the classroom. It gave them accessibility into a simulation because scripts, for instance, I handed out scripts early for those that requested them, for having audio readers, and it worked. It worked. And I think that's a big message that we have to remember, is how virtual exchange can be engaging, but also accessible to all students, to include all students. Before we close, Eduardo, do you want to say something, some observations or some concluding takeaways that you can make for our listeners?
Yes, sure. I could say some anecdotes about my students about the feedback of these virtual exchange they have been doing. For example, when some students of mine, because remember when I mentioned about the language barrier, and some students, of course, they had some of them have never been in contact or with people from abroad, Brazil, or they 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 didn't study, they haven't studied much about English. So, but even though these difficulties, they have participated in the activities, and they told me some of them got inspired by 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 these activities to learn more about English, to study this seriously, and even go abroad to do a physical internship or something like that. So this is also motivating uh, initiative for the students to go abroad. And for me, I would say that an outcome in my career, in my research, in terms of research, that one of the students that participated last year in our future exchange, he is also into gaming things, and so we started developing some negotiation games related to the SDGs, and this has become a undergraduate research project for this student. And I am already using the games he developed. And they are still in Portuguese, but for translating it's not that much an issue. So, well, it's very for me. It's been very productive and very great experience for both for me and for my students. So that's it. I of course I will recommend for everyone that's listening to take a look on these opportunities for virtual exchange because they are very enriching. Thank you.
Karima, how about you? What insights and kind of takeaways do you want to leave our listeners?
Yeah, I totally agree what it said Eduardo and you, Kelly, about the importance of this global learning experience by virtual exchange on our students for equality, for inclusion, for improving language, and for us too, for professors or teachers too. This is a good opportunity to meet partners, to create relationships, to improve their not only teaching, research too. And this research, this work on virtual exchange for games, this is a good example to cooperation between professors, students using virtual exchange. And if I focus on virtual exchange on environmental sustainability, this is this help students for problem solving and for when they play this game, they learn about different stakeholders, and we prepare them for solving these issues in the future. And it could be the best teaching practice too. And this research also examines how virtual exchange focused on multidisciplinary subjects. And finally, I recommend faculties and students to be associated to this experience for global learning. This is a nice experience for both students and teachers. And thank you to giving me this opportunity to participate in this work of research and in this nice global learning experience with my students and other students from different partners. Thank you.
Katie, do you want to have a short statement here to conclude how it impacted you?
Yeah, so for anyone listening, whether it's at DePaul University, Columbia College, or wherever, if you have to fulfill the science domain, whatever your university has, I would highly recommend taking an GLE virtual global learning class, because not only has it impacted me academically, but I also made connections. Like, I have a tight-knit relationship with Kelly Tazumans, Dr. Eduardo, all the other partners who were part of this global learning exchange. And this class also gave me the opportunity to speak in Valencia, Spain, on my experience and what it was like to do an online class during the pandemic and facing all these different challenges. And for anyone listening who think that they can't do it, you guys can do it. Like, when I was part of Academic Growth Innovation Fund, we had a saying that really stuck with me, that challenges me every single day to keep striving for greatness and to keep using my opportunities and experience for like more like learning opportunities, like for more online classes for those who can't go study abroad, for more accessibility like in the dorm rooms and the buildings. And if it wasn't for me being in this class, I don't think I would have had these opportunities to even speak on, and it always doesn't hurt to have a professional relationship between professor and student, because sometimes you don't know where the door will lead. I mean, look at me. I am a recent DePaul alumni, but I'm still in contact with Kelly Tazumans and everyone who I met, just because I was given an opportunity to take a class virtually. And don't be afraid to challenge yourself.
That's a really good place to end. And I just want to caveat, when Eduardo and Katie and I went to the International Virtual Exchange Conference in Valencia, Spain, we had the very beginnings of this work that we were exposing to peer review. And Katie received a standing ovation from the audience, and it was the last segment of the conference, and it was just really a profound experience for, I think, Katie and Eduardo and myself. Well, let me thank all of you for your time. I think this was a very good session to kind of flush out how games can be used. The details, of course, can be read in our work. We have one other podcast that is coming up that focuses just on STEM and the issues of STEM and how games can be used for kind of the targeted characteristics that STEM students experience. And so you will hear more about this, but perhaps in a more tailored way. So thank you again for your time, panel.
Thank you,
really,
Kelly.
Really interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you.